All right, hello and welcome to the TPC podcast, coming to you live again this week from the Paradox Studio. I'm your host, James Lapine, and I'm joined this week by our deacons of City Renewal, Ty and Sarah Bowden. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Good afternoon.
Glad you guys are here.
Glad to be here.
You're my neighbors.
Yeah.
I can see your house from my house. Did you know that?
You can see.
I actually didn't know that.
No.
When I
didn't
step
either.
into my back porch, I can see your house.
What part of our house can you see?
The back of your house. There's a light on. I look for you guys to see if you're out there, but I don't see you.
Not in
Well,
the backyard.
Yeah.
We're front porch people.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
my new home office has a view of the street in front of our house, so I see you walking your dog
Every day.
every
Your
day.
giant dog.
That's my thing. That's my thing, especially in Corona times. You got to get your walks in.
Sure do.
None of that was planned, but we just
Right.
went for it. Okay, so I'm glad y'all are here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to put our people in front of our people. So we're not getting to see each other right now. And so what we want to do with the podcast is bring partners in as they're able to and talk about what's going on in our body. And so I'm excited to talk with you guys about the things that are happening through the WeLoveFortWorth.org website that we've just created.
.org, very important.
.org, yes. I wanted to make sure I got that right. If you are watching us live, please let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. Jump in and say hi. Let us know how you're doing. And as always, if you have anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and post that now. You can post questions or topics that you'd like to hear us discuss. Jordan Schneider will compile those for us, and we will hit that at the end of the show. As always, we are supporting local businesses on the show this week. And so, Cut. Hello and welcome to the TPC podcast. We're live here once again this week from the Paradox Studios. I'm your host, James Lapine, and I'm joined this week by Ty and Sarah Bowden, our deacons of City Renewal. Welcome to the studio. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad
Yeah.
to talk about something that we feel is pretty important during this time.
Yes, absolutely. How are you guys doing? How are you making it in these shelter-at-home times?
We're good.
Yeah?
We're
doing
feeling real grateful.
You sick of each other yet?
No.
No.
Sarah took her time on answering that. That's a little. You might want to talk about that afterwards. I'll leave.
We've been talking about it.
No, we're all doing our best to shelter in place, and y'all are our neighbors. So sometimes we see each other walking our dogs, and we keep our 6 feet distance. Today we're a little bit closer. Just don't cough, don't sneeze. We'll have to suspend the podcast if you do.
Can of Lysol on standby over there.
Well, yeah, Faith's got that ready for us if we need it. Thank you, Faith. Grateful for the opportunity to put our people in front of our people. So that's how I've been thinking about the podcast lately. We miss seeing each other on Sundays. And so as we're able to safely bring partners in to do the live podcast, we're going to try to be doing that weekly, just to talk about what's happening in the life of our body, to stay connected and united even while we're apart. So if you're watching live, let us know in the comments. Hello, we're glad that you're here. Say hi, and as always, if you have anything that you want to talk about, just go ahead and post that now. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to hit, Jordan Schneider will be compiling those for us, and we will hit that at the end of the show. We're also supporting a local business every week when we do this, and so my shout out of the week goes to the Cook Shack. Now, I told you guys this before we went live, and you said, "What's the Cook Shack?" So
I've never heard of the Cook Shack.
that's troubling for me. The Cook Shack. So I want to let you guys know, if you don't know what the Cook Shack is, and this is coming from somebody who loves fried chicken, the Cook Shack is the best fried chicken in Fort Worth. It's amazing. And a friend of mine, I'm going to give him a shout out on the pod this week too, a guy named Sterling Pruitt, who's a member of our church, and his wife Carly sent us a gift card this week. So if you're listening and you're just wondering, how could I bless the staff? Like, what's a way that I could?
We're the deacons.
Or the deacons, yeah, really just anybody who serves the church. You could send us a gift card to the Cook Shack for all of our staff to eat lunch together. So they sent us a gift card, and we are going to use that to support a local business and a place that I think has the best fried chicken in the city. So thank you to the Pruitts for that. And if you haven't yet tasted the goodness that is the fried chicken at the Cook Shack, you can order a shelter survival pack. That's what they're calling it. So here's what you get.
It's good marketing.
Exactly. For $30, you get 12 tenders, 4 sides, and 6 sauces. Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. I recommend the Texas Heat in terms of how spicy you make it. It makes me sweat while I eat it. My nose runs. It's exactly what I want.
I'll go lower than that.
You're going to go. They have mild, too. They have mild. They have no heat, so it's kind of your choice. And I know that you supported Salsa Limon today.
I did. Got
Yes.
a nice chorizo breakfast burrito.
They do breakfast burritos this late.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
All day.
Nice. Okay. All right. So Salsa Limon and the Cook Shout, shout out to you guys this week. Let us know in the comments who you are supporting. What's the best takeout that you've found? We want to know, and we want to keep supporting these businesses as they are, for the most part, closed, just doing takeout and curbside orders. Our flow for the podcast today, I'm going to give a few updates on what's happening around the church, and then we're going to jump in with y'all about all things city renewal and we love fortworth.org. And then we'll close with your questions. So here we go. First thing is this. We're passing out our Easter kits today. So just outside of our office doors here, you'll see a table ready for curbside pickup here at the office. And so our address is 910 Collier Street, Collier Street. 900 is the, or 910 is the address there. So come before 5 p.m. today and grab your Easter kit. In those, we have a candle from the Worthy Co., which we can talk. Yeah, oh, there it is. I didn't even see it. Nice. Yeah, so we've got a candle for you. We've got hand sanitizer. We've got some stickers and invitations for you to give to your neighbors to join us on Easter Sunday. So we're hoping that these will serve you, that these will help us remain united even when we're apart. And just so you know, every bag was prepared by someone who was wearing gloves, so there's nothing to worry about there. If you're able, you can come and pick one up for a friend too and drop it off at their house. And there was some confusion on if these Easter kits are different than the kids' tote bags that we're delivering to you. They are different. So if you already have a kid's tote bag, you still can come and get an Easter kit. So come by today, 910 Collier Street, anytime before 5 p.m. and pick one of those up. Another update, this is Holy Week. So I was talking with my wife last night, and we were kind of just checking in on each other emotionally, like it sounds like you guys need to do after this podcast. And I told her that I was feeling really tired. And then it dawned on me, of course I'm tired. It's Holy Week. And so I was thinking about it. This is my 7th Holy Week on a church staff. And it's always an amazing time, a very tiring time, totally worth it. But yes, I am feeling tired because it is Holy Week. And so let me update y'all just again on what's happening. Tomorrow night, we have Maundy Thursday meals happening as well as prayer walking. So some city groups are doing a virtual Maundy Thursday meal. That's a chance to remember Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples, and then the command that he gave them to love one another. So some people are hopping on Zoom and doing that, and then hopping off at 7 to just do a quick prayer walk around the neighborhood. If you're not familiar with prayer walking, I'm going to have Jordan post an article in the comments that will tell you what that is and why we're doing it. It's something that we do as a staff probably about once a month, and it's been a really sweet time. So hopefully y'all will do that with us tomorrow at 7 p.m. So that's Thursday, and then for Good Friday, for our service, again, we're doing one live stream service at 7 p.m. You can join us on our website or on Facebook or YouTube. We made that intentional decision to do one service so that it can feel as all together as possible. The service will be a mix of music, of scripture reading, and then a couple pastoral care moments. And we'll be hopping on early like usual for Paradox Kids Live. I know that my daughter has absolutely loved Paradox Kids Live, so hopefully you'll join us at about 6:45 for that. And then on Sunday, of course, it's Easter, so we'll be meeting like we have been at 10 a.m. for our live stream gathering. Again, an intentional decision there to do one service all together. Paradox Kids Live will be on 15 minutes before. And invite your friends and your family and your neighbors to join us for Easter Sunday. Are you guys going to join us for Good Friday and Easter Sunday?
We will.
We sure will.
Okay,
Our
good.
city group is also doing a Zoom meal straight into a prayer walk, so
Look at you guys.
we're on top.
Model citizens, model partners. Yes, well done. Okay, well, that's it in terms of updates. So why don't you guys start off just telling us a little bit about who you are, how you came to the Paradox, and then how you became deacons at the Paradox. For people who aren't familiar with y'all or your ministry, just kind of give us a little bit of background leading up to how you got to where you are.
You were first.
Okay. So I started coming to the Paradox in 2011, which is,
Whoa.
So OG.
Yeah, seriously.
I was in college at the time, and there was, I think I was probably one of like 2 college students that were coming at that time. And yeah, I just loved it and got involved, and then a couple of years later became the deacon of City Renewal.
Okay.
Why did you become the deacon of City Renewal? What were you already doing in your life that led into that?
Well,
Hey, this is my podcast.
yeah.
I ask the questions around here, buddy.
Yeah, so around that time, Melissa Ice and I were starting The Net, which is a nonprofit here in Fort Worth, and just serving folks experiencing homelessness and women who have been affected by the sex industry. So it kind of went hand in hand, and we just were really passionate at the time and now about helping churches and Christians get involved in the lives of the poor and connecting them in the context of relationships to people in poverty. And so kind of made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you? When did you show up at the Paradox?
2012.
Okay.
So a year later,
Yep.
it was the beginning of my sophomore year at TCU.
Okay.
Joined the first TCU area city group where I met Sarah. So
Ooh.
go to city group. You might get married. And then, also started working for The Net, started interning later in college, came on staff. Sarah and I got married, and it felt pretty natural to use our strengths together towards just leading the church to do justice work in the city. So I do a lot of the admin side of things, and Sarah does like a lot of the teaching and vision for City Renewal. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys have been deacons for 5 years now?
she has been a deacon.
For 6?
7,
7?
I'm at 1.5.
maybe 6.
Oh, yeah?
I can't remember. If
It took me
was
2 years to get through the deaconship process.
Hi. And you do the admin stuff?
Oh, it wasn't his fault. It was.
Okay, we
There
won't
were- yeah,
we
there
won't
were
throw
other
anyone
things.
under the bus. We won't mention any names. Okay,
1 year.
there you go. Great, cool. So you guys have been in your roles for for several years now, and then a couple years for you, and you both work with a main partner organization for us, which is The Net. So we send a lot of volunteers and money there, and then here lately we've been collaborating on this new website. We love fortworth.org. So tell us, Ty, why we decided to make this website. And then maybe Sarah, you can tell us some of the work that we've seen, some of the fruit that we've seen from creating it.
Yeah, so we created this website primarily as a tool for our people to serve the city.
Yeah.
So we want to specifically leverage the resources of the church, primarily our people, not
Yeah.
necessarily financially, although that is obviously an option if needed, but primarily our people to meet the needs in our city. So through your neighborhood, through folks that you know that have needs, whether it's through an organization. Maybe you serve with The Net and you're able, in relationship with someone that you met there and you know that they have a need and you can't meet it on your own, but the church could come around you and help meet that need. That's really why we created it, to be a place for that justice work, that care, that just like you've been saying, being the hands and feet of Jesus during this time to our city. I feel like the church is kind of uniquely situated to meet those needs, especially a church like the Paradox that has such a scattered geographic area and specific geographic focuses. So through our city groups that already exist in neighborhoods around the city, we should be able to be a light in the darkness for the people of those neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's great. And what kind of work what kind of things have we seen come through that website?
Well, I think for one thing, it's something that I feel really excited about, that we've created that site, and the energy around it is just the idea of even considering the poor.
Yeah.
Psalm 41 says, "Blessed is the one who considers the poor," and I think that a lot of us are experiencing a lot of suffering and hardship right now. But if we take some time to intentionally consider what kind of suffering and hardship the most vulnerable are experiencing, is just a really beautiful thing, and I think leads us into compassion and empathy and then to action. So we've seen so many people just rally around some of the different things that we're doing, whether at The Net doing grocery deliveries or writing letters to ladies that are in jail and things like that. We've been able to see people just really step in and consider the experience and the suffering of people in poverty in our city.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is it like? I think a lot of people say, I want to help, but with the sheltering in place stuff and with trying to keep social distance, like what have y'all been doing to be able to still serve vulnerable populations right now? That can be either of y'all.
Well, I think that one thing that I usually harp on, if you've been to any of my like partner classes or the Justice Conference last summer, usually we're really honing and focusing on developing relationships with people in poverty, because typically what people are experiencing is a chronic situation, and so development really is the right intervention, where it's coming alongside people, getting to know them, empowering them, encouraging them. And so what's been really cool in this season is that now we're not just in a chronic situation, we're in a crisis, and it's a legitimate crisis where, people are losing their jobs, and they might be hourly workers that got their hours cut. They might be worrying, am I going to be able to put food on the table? Should I go get that next can of formula, or should I pay my electricity bill? These are the questions that they're experiencing. And as all of us know, that's an emotional, it takes an emotional toll, and we're all experiencing that in a lot of ways. So it's been really cool is being able to capitalize kind of on those relationships that so many people in our church have built with people in poverty, and being able to reach out and encourage and check in and ask, how are you doing, and offer support, whether that's through a phone call, whether that's through a grocery run. We've been collecting groceries, and we wipe everything down, and we sort it into piles to deliver to people. So that's kind of how we've been able to safely and at a social distance and in a sanitary way deliver groceries to our people. But yeah, it's been cool to see that groundwork of relationships that people have built over years be ready to go for a crisis like this, and be able to check in on people that we know and love that are experiencing this in a really difficult way.
And just to emphasize that, like Sarah said, if you've ever seen any city renewal teaching at the Paradox, it has emphasized relationship and development and discipleship over relief. But now that we are in that place where we do get to leverage those relationships and be, again, the hands and feet of Jesus to people in that, we also have this just massive opportunity that now the need is just so much greater. Like, we know there was already a bunch of need in Fort Worth, and now that need is just, expanding rapidly day by day as this thing goes on. And so where in this situation, we were able to use our relationships to meet needs. Now we're going to be able to use needs to build relationships. And so one of our long-term hopes and goals out of this website is that more people would be involved in the life of the Paradox Church, because during a pandemic, someone from the Paradox Church loved them enough to enter in and meet their needs. And obviously the end goal of that is that we want them to know and love Jesus, because we believe that is eternally just the only thing that's significant, far more than meeting material needs now.
Sure. Yeah.
That was good.
That was good. Yeah, I know.
Stuff.
Was that on the spot there? That was nice.
No, I wrote it all down earlier.
It's all right here on my phone. Yeah. So ideally, like y'all are saying, ideally this is happening with relationships first. You're building that trust and that foundation, and then meeting needs becomes a natural outflow of the relationship that you have. But in this time where the needs are just where relief is just needed, what you're saying is we're not just going to go ahead and put a Band-Aid on it because it it's so immediate. We're still going to serve people the same way that we've always been serving them. Just the order in which it's happening is flipped a little bit. But relationship is still the pursuit there. Yeah.
Because how unloving would it be for us to enter in, get to know these people, know their needs now, and then in 8 weeks, 3 months, whenever this thing has kind of blown over, just to leave them in that. Yeah. And then their view of us as believers, as the Paradox, is, oh, those people were there for me when I needed it, but it was, there's that savior complex and all those things that get wrapped up in. If we just leave them there, and again, don't offer them the love of Jesus long term, we feel like that's actually doing them a disservice.
Yep. And y'all have mentioned the net, and obviously you have, because you work there, and so there's a lot of things that y'all are doing there. But we have a lot of organizations listed on that website. And Ty, I know you vetted those, but are y'all able to speak to any of the other work that you've seen happening around the city that's been encouraging? I just think everything that we're seeing and hearing on the news right now is discouraging. I saw another headline this morning, of somebody coughing and spitting in somebody's face at a laundromat. Like this virus, there was somebody who was quoted in the 17th century talking about a virus that, something that was going around then that said something like this will make dogs out of all of us. And if I read another headline about us coughing and spitting, like it's just mind blowing. So anyway,
Even in that too is that's at a laundromat, and how many of us have to go to a laundromat? We all have our washer and dryer in our own home, and so that's a layer of, having to even expose yourself to somewhere like that, where you're not able to social distance. Social distancing is a privilege in a lot of ways, being able to do that. So there's so many people that have to get on the bus and have to take risks that they have to weigh those risks from their health and their safety to their job and putting food on the table and having clean clothes. Anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we would be remiss to not say thank you, first of all, to medical professionals who are putting themselves at risk, but then also just delivery drivers, right? Okay. So if we get the Cook Shack delivered to our office, there's somebody coming into a new space, and hopefully we're not interacting much, but people delivering Amazon packages. There are a lot of people that we can be saying thank you to right now. And so anyway, the reason I asked the question is because anytime that we can point people to good things that are happening, not to ignore the bad stuff that's happening, but just to see other stuff. Anyway.
I have one.
Yeah, go.
One thing that's been really cool, I don't know how, I think they're doing it weekly, but the food bank has been doing deliveries to the apartment complex where we know a lot of resettled refugees live. So that was one of our big concerns, when we were compiling our net list of who we were wanting to make sure to deliver groceries to. It was people who we wanted, who were, maybe at risk with their health, maybe didn't have their own transportation, and so weren't able to get out into the grocery store in a safe social distance kind of way, or maybe got their hours cut or didn't have the income. And so on that list was the refugee community. But we have just been really thankful for the food bank doing those grocery deliveries, I think every week.
Every day?
Every day. They're doing them every day. There's I don't know, like 700 families even in that one apartment complex that all live in really close quarters. And there's a lot of people in each apartment. The kids run around everywhere. Anyway, so the food bank is just doing a great work, even in that small example of making sure that people have what they need in a safe way in the refugee community.
Yeah. And then speaking to a couple of the other organizations we have on the website, two of our other Paradox-specific partners are Embrace Grace in the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. And while the Pregnancy Center specifically isn't able to offer its full services, they are still providing moms with basic needs for babies, whether that's wipes and diapers or formula. And then Embrace Grace, which is started by Scout and Jada here in the Paradox, which is awesome. They serve kind of the same population of moms who might have an unplanned pregnancy, and one of they call them blooms, one of their blooms had to cancel her baby shower, which is something that we've heard a ton, whether it's weddings or showers or all these celebrations of life and love are getting canceled. And so this mom wasn't going to get all of her gifts that she normally would have. And so she reached out, and then coordinating with Scout, we were able to provide a lot of those things that come with encouraging notes. And so it's not just, we're dropping off a bunch of necessary stuff at her door, but she's also being prayed for and being encouraged by the people who are providing those needs, which has been really cool to see the kind of immediate and overwhelming response to that need from our people specifically.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, any stories like that we can be sharing, I'd love to hear about that kind of stuff. So I in a minute, I'm sure that people hear these stories and they go, that's amazing. How can I get involved? So I'd love to talk about that. But before we go to the how, is there anything else that I haven't asked y'all that you wanted to talk about, or that, Ty, that you had notes on?
Sarah wrote most of these notes just for reference.
Yep.
I think some of the best practices and we'll talk about how we can kind of take next steps on this. But again, if you've ever heard any of our teaching, we talk about these best ways to actually serve people in need. So a couple of them, there are going to be like immediate crisis-like needs that we have. And so we want to meet those, but we also don't want to assume those. So when you're on your Monday, Thursday prayer walk through your neighborhood and you see your neighbor on your porch and you stop to talk to them and ask them how they're doing, if they say they're not doing well, don't assume that they just need groceries. Like, actually get to know what they need, and so that you can meet those needs specifically. Because if there's just so much that shows that being patronizing, paternalistic in some way, and doing something for someone that they can do for themselves actually diminishes that dignity and personhood. And so we want to don't assume needs. And you want to communicate clear expectations. So if your city group knows someone who is unable to pay rent, I think this is a really beautiful way that a city group can rally around someone and provide for that financial need. There should be clear expectations on that of, hey, we're going to come up with 3 months rent for you to help you get through this. And that way it's not this long-term nebulous dependency where both parties are kind of unsure what's going on. There's not a lot of healthy communication there. So communicating clear expectations, and then also in the context of community, like your city group, is a really great way. Don't serve these people in isolation. That's for their benefit. It's also for your benefit. Even if it's a relationship that you have maybe from serving with the NET or the Pregnancy Center, bring your community in to pray for you, to pray for the person, to just be what your city group is supposed to be. And I think a lot of times we don't incorporate city renewal. We don't bring that like personal side back to our city groups too often. And so make sure you're doing that. And then lastly, just holistic care. So again, if grocery delivery is needed, don't just drop the groceries off and then leave. Like, try to have a conversation from a safe social distance, or a phone call where you're checking in on that person's whole needs. We know that people don't just exist in their physical body. We have, holistic care involves spiritual, emotional, and physical. And so we want to make sure that as much as we're able, that we can check in on all three of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Sarah, anything else you wanted to add?
You covered all my points.
Again, she wrote the notes, so.
Well, they were good. Okay, that's helpful, and I'm just going to put a call out there right now. So if you're watching live, it doesn't look like we have any questions yet, which is fine if y'all don't have any. But we're going to talk some practicals about how you can get involved, and then we will just wrap up if we don't see any questions. So if you have a question or you have something you want us to talk about, go ahead and drop that in there now. So the obvious thing is to go to welovefortworth.org, but then what do I do when I get there?
So there are a bunch of different options. At the very top, you'll see a way to sign up to volunteer or sign up to request assistance. So those are kind of the two big ones. And if you sign up to volunteer, you're going to get an email from Ashley Hankins, who is an admin wizard. She's going to let you know all kind of the immediate ways to serve with our partner organizations. So whether that's grocery deliveries through the NET or baby items for Embrace Grace Forth Pregnancy Center, you can do those. Those are ongoing needs. Like, there are going to be moms who need wipes this entire crisis. So being able to provide those, drop them off here at the church offices. And then there's also a list of places you can donate financially, whether it's some of the organizations that we talked about. There's a artist and hourly worker relief fund on there. So if that's something that you are passionate about, you're able to do that, and they're dispersing those to folks in our community. And then the assistance request form. We know that some people will get on there and fill them out themselves, but as anyone who served folks in poverty knows, they generally are the ones with the hardest access to accessing resources that they need. We talked about like the government stimulus checks last night when we saw you on our dog walk.
Yes, yes.
It's going to be hard for some people in poverty to get those because they don't have access to the internet, which is required to register for your check if you don't pay taxes. And so we want our people to be finding out those needs, and then obviously with permission, filling out that assistance request form so that the church is aware of the needs in our city. Yeah. And then we're able to, like I said, come together and leverage the entire resources of the church to meet those needs. So we one of the needs that came in was someone needed a lawn mowed because their husband was immunocompromised and they were moving, so they were trying to reduce exposure. And so, if somebody might fill that out and not have a lawnmower, but then we have a volunteer list of 70-something people already that I blasted it out, and two guys immediately were like, hey, yeah, we can take care of that, no problem. And Amazing. So that's what we need. We need you in your communities, in your neighborhoods, using your relationships that you've built maybe prior serving in the city to fill out those needs and make the church aware of them. Yeah, that's awesome. And we see this as one of many angles. So like you mentioned, the city group angle is one. I heard another story this morning of
of a need in the city group to help pay electric bills. So like you were talking about, creating clear expectations where they say, hey, we're going to cover this for you for the next 3 months. And then let's figure out a plan to where you're able to where this, hopefully doesn't happen again. So that's one angle. This website is, we're seeing it as kind of a, well, it's like what you just talked about. If we've got 70 people on there who can meet needs, there may not be somebody in your city group who's able to go and mow a lawn. But there are 2 guys out of these 70 who can just hop on it right there. And so we're seeing it as kind of a supplement to the normal rhythms of the church that are already established. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you are meeting that need as a city group, so if you're paying the electricity bill for someone that that is amazing and it sounds like doing it kind of in the way that we would hope, but put that need on there. That way we know, and maybe we're able to come around that person long term, and if people in your city group may not know access to resources for long term help in that, or if that 3 months is up and that person still isn't able to get a job, we have a lot of people in the church who can provide employment. And so we want to use those whole resources. And so just put in the notes like, hey, we're meeting this for now, but that way we're just aware of it and it gets back to the city renewal team centrally.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a supplement to our normal rhythms, but in some ways it's also doubling down on intentionality within them. I think that for most people, I mean, even if you think about yourself, or at least maybe I could say for me, asking for help is a really hard thing, and admitting that I need help, that I can't pay a bill, that I don't have what I need, that would be really challenging for me. And so there is a pursuit and there is a care that needs to happen in that. And so it is our normal rhythms, but at the same time, it's how can you intentionally pursue and care for people who this is impacting probably more than you. Not to say, I mean, we're all experiencing the impacts, but, whether that's while you're on your walk and, you're having that extra prolonged awkward conversation with someone who you don't normally talk to, but you want to lay the groundwork so that if and when they do have a need, they know that you're a safe place to share that. You're, reaching out to these organizations and you're building bridges so that if and when, because it really is a win at this point, because we know that so many people are going to be impacted for the long term by what's going on right now. You have the groundwork laid to be a safe place for them to be vulnerable enough to ask for help. And that's who we are as a church already, but it's going to take another level of intentionality to meet needs like that during this time, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And I think it's worth saying also that your neighbors are going to be way more likely to hop on the live stream for Easter, for example, if you've established that kind of relationship with them already, right? If they don't feel like whenever you're talking with them, all you're doing is inviting them to church, but you're also caring about them as a person, like you said, in a holistic way. And so I just think that's important to say.
Also, sorry, one more thing.
Yeah, no, go.
I'm just thinking, I think our neighbors are definitely going to have challenges and struggles for sure in the same ways that we are, and maybe even more so, whether that's losing jobs, getting sick, all of the above. But just as another little plug, that most of us aren't neighbors with the extreme poor. Most of us aren't neighbors with the homeless. We aren't neighbors with refugees. We aren't neighbors with, the single mom who works the hourly job and has 4 kids under 6, And so when we talk about this idea of considering the poor, it's not just considering people who have needs. It's also considering truly the vulnerable in our community that are experiencing this in the most drastic way. And so I would just leave that challenge of, yes, talk to your neighbors. Yes, do your walks in your neighborhood, but also think about what's going on the other side of town that you may not reach on your walk, unless people are walking a lot, so maybe do a trek across town. But just want to include that.
No, that's great, and a lot of that work is represented on the WeLoveFortWorth.org website. So
exactly,
yeah, be sure to get on there and and maybe even think about adopting an organization during this time as a city group or
Yeah.
as a family unit or as a group of single people who want to do good work together. Just a couple ideas.
And maybe
really good.
praying. Oh, were you about to say something? Sorry.
No, it's just
I was going to say just praying for them. I mean, I think about
Yeah.
the different homeless shelters right now. I mean, we talked about people putting themselves at risk. The social workers
Yes.
and the people managing those facilities are putting themselves at great risk
Yes.
to be able to offer a space for people to sleep inside instead of outside and to have the things that they need. And so maybe it's praying for them, giving financially. So many nonprofits are going to experience this also in the financial consequences of this. And so maybe it's committing, like adopting an organization and even committing through the end of the year to not only pray, not only serve, but give and all of the above, because there's so many people doing amazing work in the city and on behalf of the most vulnerable.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming on.
thanks for having us.
They didn't have any questions for us, which is always a good sign. It means that we talked about everything that they could have possibly imagined.
Me and Sarah's notes were very thorough.
Yes, yes, they were. Thank you all for tuning in. This is becoming one of my favorite parts of the week, so I hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. If you ever need anything, hit me up, james@theparadoxchurch.com. We are here for you during this time. And we'll see you this Friday for our Good Friday service. We'll see you this Sunday for Easter Sunday. And until then, take care and God bless.